At dawn in Seattle, a trusted hospital director was exposed as the center of a cartel operation that used medicine, money, and public trust as its cover. At 5:14 a.m. in North Seattle, the quiet of a cold gray morning ended without warning. Federal agents from the FBI and ICE forced open the door of a two-story suburban home owned by Dr. Lawrence Whitlock, a respected hospital director. For years, neighbors had seen nothing unusual. Inside the house, everything looked normal at first. There were family photos on the walls and framed diplomas that told a story of success and service. Then the agents went into the basement. What they found changed the case immediately. Hidden behind ordinary storage shelves were 50 pounds of heroin, tightly packaged and ready for distribution. Nearby was a locked weapons cache that included modified handguns, short-barreled rifles, and crates of ammunition marked with cartel tags. It was already serious, but the next discovery stunned even veteran agents. Behind a concealed wall was a fully equipped surgical room. There were stainless steel tables, overhead operating lights, and medical instruments arranged with clinical precision. This was not a hobby room or an emergency setup. It was a professional operating space built for illegal procedures. A man sworn to protect life had turned his home into a cartel outpost. If this could happen inside a quiet neighborhood, what else had been hiding in plain sight? If you think this was just one corrupted doctor, the evidence uncovered next revealed something far larger. Within hours of the raid, investigators began tracking Whitlock's finances. Forensic accountants uncovered 23 shell companies spread across Nevada, Belize, and Panama. None of these companies had staff, inventory, or legitimate contracts. Despite this, millions of dollars flowed through them. The payments were disguised as medical grants, procurement fees, and charitable donations. Over 5 years, these transactions totaled $37.9 million. The money did not come from hospitals or charities. It came from intermediaries tied to cartel networks in Mexico and Venezuela. Whitlock's hospital position gave him access that criminals usually never reach. He influenced charity programs, specialized partnerships, and inspection schedules. He knew who approved shipments. He knew who signed off on containers. He knew which questions would never be asked. Investigators soon realized that Whitlock was not hiding behind medicine. He was using it as a weapon. And then the messages were decrypted and the case took a darker turn. Encrypted emails recovered from Whitlock's devices revealed coded instructions to cartel contacts. Phrases like "move the patients tonight" and "board a team ready" appeared repeatedly. At first glance, they looked like hospital logistics. Investigators soon confirmed they referred to human trafficking victims. A digital folder labeled "Logistics" became the turning point. Inside were transport schedules for 9 kidnapped individuals. Each file included medical notes and a projected use value. These were not patients. They were people being treated as cargo. The same folder contained a second ledger. It mapped a massive narcotics shipment moving through Washington state. The plan detailed 1 ton of heroin and 1.5 tons of methamphetamine and fentanyl. The route ran through the state ferry system and port facilities before sunrise. By the time analysts connected the final pieces, the truth was undeniable. Whitlock was not assisting a cartel. He was a pillar of it. With lives on the line and a shipment already moving, federal commanders had only hours to act. By 3:40 a.m., federal leadership classified the situation as a countdown. 9 hostages were believed to be held in a cartel-run warehouse near the Everett waterfront. A convoy carrying the narcotics shipment was preparing to move. The mission escalated to high-risk hostage rescue. A unified team was formed, including the FBI Hostage Rescue Team, DEA, ATF, and ICE HSI. There were no speeches and no delays. Every second mattered. As unmarked vehicles approached Everett, agents saw rooftop silhouettes watching the road. Spotters were already in position. The cartel expected trouble. They just did not expect a full federal response. What happened next turned a warehouse into a battlefield. The assault began with a coordinated breach that shattered the eastern wall. Almost immediately, gunfire erupted from inside. The warehouse had been prepared for combat. Forklifts were overturned to form barricades. Chemical drums were stacked into makeshift bunkers. Gunmen fired from catwalks, ladders, and dark alcoves. This was not a smuggling site, it was a fortified stronghold. FBI snipers neutralized armed suspects from elevated positions. Inside, agents moved through tight corridors as bullets tore into steel columns. Flashbangs detonated beneath convoy belts, sending shockwaves through the structure. On the southwest side, ICE agents intercepted traffickers trying to load hostages into a refrigerated truck. When a gunman opened fire, a K9 team surged forward and brought him down before he could reload. Outside the warehouse, 3 cartel trucks attempted to break through the perimeter. One vehicle smashed through a chain-link gate before being disabled by armored units. A helicopter spotlight finally cut through the darkness, exposing fleeing silhouettes and abandoned weapons. Agents reached a reinforced container referenced in Whitlock's encrypted messages. The lock was industrial grade. The order was simple: cut it. When the doors opened, 9 hostages were found inside. They were bound, freezing and terrified, but alive. Medical teams moved in immediately. As the last shots faded, the final armed suspect dropped his weapon and surrendered. When the sun rose over Everett's port, the operation was over. The results were overwhelming. 2.5 tons of narcotics were seized. 324 weapons were collected. 9 lives were saved. A cartel network was shattered in a single night. As evidence poured into federal labs, analysts uncovered something even more troubling. Whitlock had built a circle of protection inside Seattle's civic and medical systems. Investigators identified communications with 20 public officials across Washington state. A deputy sheriff received recurring payments labeled security consulting. A city health inspector approved inspections that aligned perfectly with cartel shipments. A port employee signed off on refrigerated containers without inspection. A second surgeon discussed special transfers and compensation after procedures. Each payment was small enough to avoid attention. Together, they formed a shield of silence. These were not mistakes or misunderstandings. They were deliberate choices made by people who understood what they were enabling. News of Whitlock's arrest spread quickly. Residents struggled to reconcile the image they knew with the reality exposed by federal agents. Whitlock had delivered speeches, awarded scholarships, and praised community service. Behind that image was a man who moved drugs, people, and money with surgical precision. City offices went into emergency mode. Audits were ordered. Hospitals reviewed every grant and permission tied to Whitlock. Port authorities shut down terminals pending investigation. Older residents voiced a deeper fear. If a hospital director could do this, who else might be hiding behind respected titles? The betrayal was not abstract. It existed in signatures, approvals, and unchecked containers. It existed in moments when someone chose silence over responsibility. As the legal process began, the scale of the case became impossible to ignore. By the end of the week, federal prosecutors announced 31 indictments. Those charged included cartel enforcers, traffickers, transport brokers, and public employees. Every charge was supported by documentation, encrypted messages, and financial records. Whitlock himself faced charges for drug trafficking, human trafficking, conspiracy, financial crimes, organ harvesting, and public corruption. His arraignment drew crowds so large that federal marshals closed the courthouse steps. Across the city, institutions responded quickly. Hospitals audited transplant programs, police opened internal investigations, and lawmakers called for oversight hearings. The case was never just about one doctor or one warehouse. It showed how easily trust can be weaponized inside systems meant to protect the public. It also proved that those systems are not powerless. Federal agents acted, analysts traced the money, and teams risked their lives to save strangers. Whitlock's empty courtroom now stands as a reminder that authority does not grant immunity. Seattle learned a painful lesson. Danger does not always come from the shadows. Sometimes it wears a white coat and signs official paperwork.